which basically, in a nutshell, it's asking that everybody who is a member of a board or commission to come back to attending board meetings or commission meetings in person. However, AB 2449 does make very specific and very limited allowances for still allowing a board or commission member to attend remotely. The big difference here is that if a commission member needs to attend remotely from here on out after March 1st, they need to notify their liaison ahead of time and specifically give a reason such as an emergency or just cause, meaning, a childcare issue, an illness, a dire emergency kind of thing. And there's also a limited number of times per year that a commissioner can request to be able to attend remotely. So it's not just, anytime you feel like attending remotely, you do it. It's only for very specific reasons and for, very small number of times. So those are the main changes. And once a commissioner notifies their liaison that they would have to attend remotely, there's specific steps that the liaison will have to take in order to still, make sure that the meeting has enough capability to accommodate the remote member and let the public know that somebody's going to be attending remotely and so on. So that's why it has to be notified in advance. Another thing to note really specifically about AB 2449 is that if a member were to attend remotely, the quorum still has to be established in person. So the remote member will not count towards the quorum. They'll count as an attending member, but the quorum itself has to be established in person. So that's something to keep in mind. And I think that's kind of the nutshell of it. Our clerk of the board office has established a board liaison resource page so that clerk liaisons can get information, and there's a summary of this law that the liaison can obtain for their records, because the law I think is basically 14 pages, so it's kind of long reading material, but that's what it is, the short version of it. So as of March 1st, everybody is expected to come back in person unless there is a specific stated in advance need. Also, another thing, the last thing to note about this is that members of the public that may attend these meetings are still allowed to attend remotely without restriction. And the reason why that's specified is because they still want public participation in meetings, and I guess they think that, still allowing the public to attend remotely encourages them to participate in public meeting, governmental participation. So, that's it in a nutshell.
Thank you, Ms. Gaza. I have a couple of questions for clarity's sake.
Sure.
So, one of the biggest things that I got out of it is that our quorum must be established in person.
That's correct.
So for voting, let's say we do have quorum in person, plus we have one member outstanding on the virtual side. Is that virtual attendee allowed in the voting process?
Yes, as far as I understand, it doesn't affect voting. They just have to be sure that a quorum is established in person.
Okay, thank you. And so we no longer need to vote to have the virtual component of our meeting. It is a mandatory thing now that we have it for the public.
Yeah, I'm trying to read.
Correct. Yeah, that is correct.
Yes, thank you.
It seems like we were voting to give ourselves permission to be remote, the commissioners. But now, since we are almost mandated to be back in person, the virtual is an extra layer of public involvement or potential public involvement, to help the public be involved. So yes. It just carries on. We don't have to vote about it. It's not We can basically strike item number 3 off of our agenda from now on.
That is correct.
Awesome.
And in the future, I would suggest that, if you do have a meeting where a commissioner has expressed that they have to attend remotely, that is noted at the beginning of the meeting during roll call.
Awesome. Thank you. Commissioner Plum?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. How much notice is the liaison going to require to give permission for distant attendance? I think a lot of times it's going to be a last minute thing. Maybe like today there was a traffic accident and everybody gets that.
Technically, from what I'm reading here, I don't see. It says significant technical and procedural requirements involving the request by the board or commission member, the notice of meeting, and approval by the legislative body. Plus, it looks like the liaison has to provide either a two-way audio-visual platform or a two-way telephonic service and live webcasting of the meeting. And you have to provide members of the public notice and opportunity to attend the meeting remotely and provide public commentary. So that looks like it's the normal link that we would put on there anyway. But I think, it should be, there's not a specific time frame. It just should be far enough in advance for the liaison to be able to determine whether there's going to be an in-person forum. That much would need to be, because it would also save people if for some reason they knew that there wasn't going to be an in-person quorum ahead of time. It would save people traveling to the meeting if they weren't able to. You should know in advance of your meetings whether you're going to have a quorum or not. Like day of, at least.
Are there more than one liaison that can be notified, or just one person? And
it's normally would be left to the person who's in charge of clerking and getting the agenda out and taking care of the minutes. So it would be Lucero, and then Lucero would notify the other commission members. Because she's basically the one in charge of the meeting operations.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
A comment, and I think potentially a direction for Ms. Lucero, for the commissioners that are not here tonight, that did not get to hear the explanation of what just happened. I think it would be a really good idea to take this excerpt, or however you say that word, and forward it to them so that they know that there is now a change in the law, and they're not caught by surprise next month. I think it would be really good to make sure that they get tagged in this. And
just in addition to that comment, Lucero, I would refer to the liaison resource page on the Clerk of the Board internet, that link that I had sent you earlier, and you can find a summary of the law posted on there.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Stern, would you have anything concerning this?
I don't have any comments about the law itself. I was just thinking on bookkeeping for our next biennial report, we have to list every commissioner who attended on what days and were they in person or virtual. And now we'll have a third category. What do we call this? Exempt, approved? I don't know. Some new category.
Excused absence.
Yeah, excused, I think. Mm-hmm.
Excused presence by virtual. I don't know. Anyway, no, I don't have any comments about it. As long as we can do the people's work, I'm happy.
Thank you. Okay, so we're not going to vote on Assembly Bill AB 361 at this point. That is no longer necessary. That is a moot point. So item number 3 is over. Thank you very much for that great explanation, Ms. Gaza. That was very clear and concise, and really helps us out, I think.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, item number 4, correspondence.
Yes, we did receive correspondence. 2 from a community member. One was an email inquiry regarding the posting of our meeting that was not present when they were looking for it, but that has been corrected and that is uploaded already. So that was taken care of and that was communicated to the community member. A second communication came in towards the end of the month of January regarding something to be forwarded to the commissioners regarding the mobile unit. And I sent that correspondence to the commissioners to review.
Thank you very much. I did receive a copy of both emails, both correspondence. Thank you for taking care of the first one and making sure that the meeting got posted. That's awesome. Did the other members receive notice of the correspondence? Have they been able to review
If that was the correspondence that I received about 50 minutes ago, then yes. There was nothing else I received. Is that what we're talking about?
Most likely, it's from Big Joe 77, and it concerns his thoughts on potential mobile exchange and the location at Emeline, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Like to the bottom.
Everybody.
I don't see the source of the document, but the document I have starts with Syringe Service Program Delivery Models. Is that the document?
No, this was sent maybe 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Arrived in an attachment.
Okay. Thank you.
Meeting minutes and notes.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, so we have correspondence, and everybody's going to be able to review that. Okay. All right, moving right along. We're at item number 5 already. And this is public comment where any person may address the commission for a period not to exceed 3 minutes on matters within the jurisdiction of the commission. This is where the public can be involved and let us know what they're thinking. Do we have any members of the public? There are none in person. Are there any on whatever this is called?
Yes, Chair Bruder, there is a person as a guest, Big Joe 77. I do not know if he has something to say, but he's present today.
Do you have, is there public comment, Mr. Big Joe 77? Would you like to address the commission? Thank you for being here. Okay, last call for public comment. Last call and closed. Chucky Darns. Okay, so that takes us to item number 6, and this one should be interesting. This is the program update. Who wants to grab this?
Well, there's always something new for me here. All right. Good evening. It was February 14th, 2023. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. And I'll bring the County Santa Cruz Services Program, SSP Advisory Commission Program updates. So, okay, let's skip to the next slide. I do have in the program updates, firstly, just a brief slide on our CHEERY activity. That's the California Harm Reduction Initiative Program activity updates. And then also information about our biennial report preparation. But I note that on the agenda, this might actually be jumping ahead to some information in item number 8, 8.1 and 8.2. So forgive me, I am going to loop back to that at that point and just give you the update on the cheery activity.
Okay.
All right. So again, the California Harm Reduction Initiative. We have completed Watsonville in-depth syringe literate interviews in collaboration with the Community Action Board, who we partner with. We have completed 40 interviews with Watsonville community members who use drugs in collaboration with Community Action Board. We will report on those findings at the March 14th, 2023 SSP Commission meeting. We are continuing to work with CAB Promotores to educate the community of persons who use drugs on overdose prevention and syringe disposal. We actually have some nice projects that we're looking forward to working with them on. Our point in time survey, the fourth one that we conduct through the Cheery, the survey is focused on participant fentanyl use and changes in modality or use. Not sure if you recall in a past meeting, I discussed a big shift in use of fentanyl through smoking and a decrease in syringe distribution. And so this survey is actually looking into that across many regions in California. All Cheery grant participants conduct these surveys. So we have completed 25 of the 30 surveys, and a majority of which have been completed in Watsonville and by our Watsonville Exchange participants, thanks to the efforts of our health program specialist, Eddie Valenzuela, and our senior health educator, Julie Anderson, who have continued to build relationships with partners and participants in Watsonville. It's actually moved now to, we've completed 20 of those interviews in Watsonville, which is the area that we were focusing on with this grant funding, and are looking to complete the other 10 here in Santa Cruz. We only have 2 left to go, which may have already been completed at this evening's. And again, I will move back to the rest of the program updates, which have to do with potential relocation and cost of mobile funding.
Okay. That was sort of short and sweet. Do any of the commissioners have any questions or comments for Mr. Williams concerning the Cherry update? Nobody? Okay. I don't think I have any questions either. I know that you mentioned that you were focusing on the Watsonville area for this program. And just for clarity's sake, why was it chosen to focus down there?
Well, as far as our participants served, there is underrepresentation of persons in the Watsonville area. It's somewhere between, I'll just call it about 15% of our program participants, and also persons of the Latinx community, monolingual Spanish speakers and bilingual Spanish speakers. So there is an attempt really just to expand our services and access to our services in the community, reduce stigma about accessing services, and getting feedback from persons who could benefit from utilizing our exchange to inform our program activities. And so increasing hours and outreach in Watsonville is something that our Cheery grant has allowed us to do with that funding. Also partnering, as I said, with the Community Action Board and having other service providers in the community to help our program deliver services, expanding our reach. But to get back to your main question, it's really about equity of services and reaching out.
Bringing them up to the same level that we may have in the city of Santa Cruz.
Yes, putting our focus in the South County, which is an underserved community.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I just want to add in prior PIT surveys or the surveys that Sherry has us conduct have mostly been from Santa Cruz residents. And now this time around, we put more backing resources to be able to engage the Watsonville community to, and therefore respond to the survey. So that was a specific effort that we did for this PIT survey because of prior history of more representation from Santa Cruz County, from Santa Cruz residents.
Awesome. And I'm sure that the involvement with the point in time surveys and it building relationships, like it says in here, it's building relationships with the clients and the people that could use our services. So that, I think that's a really good thing, being able to reach out and, meet people where they are. So,
And not to belabor the point, but on that same note, we also have an allowance, as do all programs, for this particular survey to conduct them outreach with known program participants. So meeting them where they're at to get their information, literally, as opposed to waiting in the exchange to get their feedback.
Awesome. That's great. That's good. That's real outreach. Okay. If there are no other questions, Mr. Stern.
Thank you, Chair Bruder. Ms. Gutierrez and Mr. Williams, I just want to thank you for your efforts. It's not like 40 people walked up to your office and said, I want to take a survey. I'll sit down with you for 15 minutes. You had to go out, go into the community, and there's always a failure rate. You approach 5 people, they say no thanks, and finally you get 1. So the fact that you got 40 is impressive. 40 people to actually stop their day, talk to you, give you some information, because I know you probably contacted 3 times that many or even more who said no thanks and kept walking. So appreciate all the work you're doing and getting out there where the people are and meeting them on their terms in their house and getting the information that we need to make them successful is really good stuff. So I just want to acknowledge that and thank you for that. That's all my comments.
Sir. Okay. So that concludes program updates, item number 6. We're going to move to item number 7 here. Focus area updates, 7.1. Update from Community Engagement Ad Hoc Subcommittee. Any updates?
No new updates on that, and I'm wondering if it's a pointed discussion, if we should open it up now or at some other time. That ad hoc committee was formed to try and get more people to attend these meetings. We've tried several things, some more successful than others, but our numbers remain low. And I just wonder if we need to disband the committee and then fold that idea of getting more people to attend, fold it back into regular business. I'd like to hear people's comments on that.
My suggestion is that if we're gonna deal with this now, it happens quickly because we have quite a bit of information to go through in item number 8. Maybe it's best if we table that thought until there are more commissioners present at our next meeting.
That's fine with me. I have no new updates to answer your question.
Okay, thank you very much. So we'll try and tackle that question, that thought next meeting, when we might have more commissioners present to discuss it. Thank you, sir. Okay. Item number 8, new business or action items. 8.1, Board of Supervisors feedback on Emeline Exchange relocation. I believe this is where us commissioners had some homework to try and get in touch with our various supervisors and find out what their thoughts and what was the inertia behind them requesting that we look into moving the exchange. I'm going to go first and say that the supervisor that appointed me is no longer on the commission or on the board. He did not run for re-election, and we have a new supervisor. I have reached out to his office and have not heard back from him. So I would imagine that he's, pretty swamped learning everything that it takes to run a county or a district of a county. And I can understand this not being of the utmost importance to him. So I have no feedback from the district that I was appointed by. Anybody else? Mr. Plum?
Thank you, Commissioner. I was able to speak with Supervisor Koenig about this issue. And he told me that there were basically 3 issues that he was interested in. Before he was elected, while he was campaigning, he actually went and visited the Syringe Exchange program, and he was impressed with how far away it was from the people that really needed the service. And so at that point, he thought it might be better to have a mobile van to supply the service. And then the issue of having the syringe service program quite close to the medication-assisted treatment program created some conflict just because it kind of didn't want those 2 populations to be quite so physically close. And they had a meeting, which they alluded to with Supervisor McPherson and some community members, that they were concerned that some drug dealers were working that crowd, both the medication-assisted treatment people and the visitor source Syringe Services program. And so I was particularly interested about the meeting because it seems that question that came to us from them immediately followed that meeting with the residents of the community. And there is a little bit of a not in my backyard issue, as you might expect. But I think the other issues are as relevant. And so he's very much in favor of finding a new mobile location for the Syringe Services program, Syringe Exchange.
Thank you for that update. Mr. Stern, have you been able to talk to your soup?
Yes, thank you, Chair Broder. I was able to reach out to District 4 down in South County, and I talked to the Chief of Staff for the board member, not Mr. Hernandez himself, but the Chief of Staff, who, by the way, worked for Caput's office previously for several years and then is now staying on with Mr. Hernandez. So Ramon knows quite a bit and gave me a lot of information. But on the topic of the Emeline Exchange, their office was not aware of it and didn't have any concerns about it. It didn't affect their district at all. They don't have any recommendations or any information for us. So it was a good conversation about a lot of things, but when it came to District 4 knowing about the request to move the Emeline campus, it didn't affect District 4 very much, and they didn't have an opinion.
Okay, well, thank you for that update. At least we know that they talked to us. Well, okay. So that took care of 8.1. We have gotten our feedback. 8.2. Something like program staff provide data on cost of running a mobile unit. So I think this lands squarely back in Mr. Williams' lap with the information that he sent us earlier that we have
Yeah, and I'd like to just preface it just a little before Mr. Williams goes on with the PowerPoint. We're coming back to you all to provide some information and research based on the various service models that are in the community, including the mobile unit option. So the information that you received about an hour ago is kind of supplements the PowerPoint. The PowerPoint is more high level, giving you a brief overview of the various service models and recommendations. And so I just wanted to preface Mr. Williams' presentation with that.
Thank you very much.
To the show. Okay, again, this is I want to make sure to share that we have uploaded the last two biennial reports. I believe it was a commissioner's firm that pointed that out last time. And this is just a reminder of the Board of Supervisors directives to the SSP Advisory Commission on August 23rd of last year to direct the Syringe Services Advisory Commission to look at the possibility of moving the North County Syringe Service Program out of Emeline and look at other physical sites at HPHP, at Coral Street, for mobile vans to operate the program. So we have, this is our current county SSP operational directives. We've got fixed locations at Emeline and in Watsonville. The fixed hours, 12 hours a week at Emeline, 7 in Watsonville. The distribution, collection policies, and then of course the oversight the Advisory Commission. All right. Quick look at the syringe delivery models used in Santa Cruz County. I put here in blue the county's programs models, and in green the Harm Reduction Coalition of Santa Cruz County's delivery models, as well as the pharmacy distribution model. Which is to say persons who are able to purchase syringes at pharmacies which don't have a man or are not restricted to distribute syringes only to people with prescriptions, but it is up to the prerogative of the pharmacist to sell those syringes. And we do have some participant feedback reporting some inconsistency at the point of sale. We are still collecting data on the cost of mobile, the purchase of a mobile van, and the different costs associated with running a mobile service. But you can see the cost of a cargo van runs from $17,000 to $50,000. Plus, there's the cost of the retrofit of $10,000 plus depending on what is added to. We're awaiting information on cost of insurance, gas, and maintenance. Okay, a little brief of mobile street-based delivery models, and as Dakota mentioned, we did send out that document, which is more lengthy and detailed. With some cited sources of this information. Some strengths are okay, so mobile or street-based programs are conducted on foot, bicycle, or by vehicle, e.g. a van, bus, or recreational vehicle. This model is also referred to as outreach. Some strengths: flexible in the drug scene or neighborhood changes, and potentially allows for expanded services. max or may encounter less resistance from local community. The informal and easily accessible location may help put participants at ease. Some of the weaknesses are the need for off-site storage, difficulty parking during operations and when not operating. It involves high overhead because of insurance, fuel, upkeep, drivers, etc. Participants will be seen out in the open, which may create privacy concerns, and inclement weather can dissuade participants from coming. At this point, staff would not advise that we move all days and hours of service from Emeline and replace them with a mobile or street-based model. Some of the reasonings are evidence from closure of a fixed site and replacing services with a mobile van had an adverse effect on already vulnerable clients and reduced access to comprehensive harm reduction services. In the document that we sent out, that study is cited and there's a link to it. The Harm Reduction Coalition of Santa Cruz County operates a mobile street-based program and delivers a delivery model 4 days a week, which would risk redundancy of service models if we were to switch to a completely mobile street-based model. Participants who utilize the Emeline Exchange constitute the majority of our program participation and have expressed the desire for continued services at the fixed site location. Yeah, I'll pause and see if there are any questions on mobile or street-based delivery model.
I have, thank you. I have a question concerning the SSP staff recommendation that was just stated. I agree that completely shutting down a fixed location would probably be harmful. My personal belief, my personal thought at this point with the information I have is that a fixed location operated, I mean, in a perfect world, I would take the Emeline clinic, move it somewhere closer to where people are, operate at the same number of hours per day, and then add a mobile outreach van that operates that many hours a week in conjunction. I would like to have both. I know that we're probably not going to be able to because of cost. There's going to be, as the cost of the van happens, you're going to have to shrink the hours at the fixed location, probably, that kind of thing. So finding that balance would be great. Would you recommend, would the staff agree that fixed and mobile is preferable to just one or the other?
Yeah, we do, and I have that pointed out a little later in the slideshow. I just wanted to pause for the feedback on that mobile model, and again, as far as the commission advising, we're very open, of course, to that. I mean, this is just the we're gathering information. And we continue to gather information in preparation for the biennial report. This is where that information is pointing us at this time, and wanted to share it with you in preparation so that we could get this feedback.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, maybe my question was a little early, a little premature. But yeah, that was the thought that had crossed my mind. Any other commissioners have any thoughts or comments on the first part of the presentation?
I just have one question. One of the comments was that the participants that are using the program now prefer to keep it at a fixed site, which makes sense. It's a selected group of people that like the fixed site. Were you able to reach out to any other community members that aren't using the service of whether they would use it or would like to have a mobile service site?
No, we have not conducted interviews with persons in Santa Cruz. We did explore some of that, I believe, with our conversations in the South County. I'll have to look at that information, but not here at the Emeline campus or at other sites, encampment sites in the Santa Cruz area.
Thank you.
So,
Mr. Plum or Mr. Sturm has a quick.
I don't have a question, so you're asking for questions. I do have a comment. I'll save it for the end. I lower my hand.
Okay. All right, back to you, Mr. Williams.
So looking at alternate or fixed site, an alternate fixed site clinic-based setting offers shelter and the opportunity to integrate for integrated syringe access with services offered on site. So some strengths are that this may allow for expansion of services, integration of MAT or medication-assisted treatment, access and wound care. If Exchange moved from Emeline, it may satisfy some of the Emeline neighborhood resident concerns about persons accessing services on the Emeline campus. Concerns about stigma could be reduced because visiting a clinic is not associated specifically with drug users. Some weaknesses, the community may not support the site's location. Our commute may be more difficult. The environment may be too clinical and non-participant centered. At this point, staff would advise that we not move our fixed site from the Emeline campus to the alternate location in HPHP. Some reasoning: moving Exchange fixed site locations from Emeline to HPHP presents would not eliminate transportation barrier for many of our participants. Supply storage and staff space is a concern. Dedicated space for our participants, remaining participant-centered, would be reduced if services were moved entirely to the HPHP clinic setting. Now, a hybrid service delivery model with Emeline, Wattsville, fixed sites, and syringe access offered while performing outreach with HPHP street medicine. Incorporating multiple models may be the most effective way for programs to expand syringe coverage and reach the greatest number and diversity of injection drug users within a given health jurisdiction. Combining models literally works to meet injection drug users where they're at. Some strengths: the co-location of services increases injection drug users' access to services, and that is, again, with the HPHP street medicine team. Street medicine in the North and South County, paired with syringe exchange, brings syringe collection and access to injection drug users who have difficulty reaching our fixed sites. It may expand programs' reach by attracting new groups of injection drug users. Some weaknesses: does not eliminate need to identify another vehicle to bring along to transport supplies and staff. Partnering at no-use policy shelters, sites, do not make sense to provide syringe access services, and that is, again, the street medicine team for instance, does perform services up at the Overlook site, and that is a no-use shelter, and it's somewhat isolated, so it just wouldn't make sense to offer syringe exchange there. It would put potential participants in a spotlight if they're accessing syringes at that location, for instance. And program success may be hampered if SPS or Syringe Service Program services are not prioritized. Again, this is a hybrid service model with Emeline Watsonville fixed sites and syringe access offered while performing outreach with HPHP Street Medicine. At this point, staff suggests we move the county SSP Exchange to a hybrid model, which maintains exchange services through our current brick and mortar sites in Watsonville and here at Emeline, while expanding exchange services at outreach when paired with homeless persons health project street medicine providers. Some reasoning are that SP or Syringe Service Program staff are currently working with HPHP street medicine staff and rapport with their team and participants served. HPHP will continue to, forget the typos, operate their outreach van with healthcare services offered to Syringe Service Program participants who could also access syringes at locations closer to their residences. Flexibility of service locations to move with injection drug user populations, and the potential to replace service day at Emeline Exchange with an outreach exchange day may be beneficial in expanding services on a lower Emeline participant traffic day and reduce Emeline neighborhood resident concerns. Any questions?
Commissioner Stern or Commissioner Plum, do we have questions or thoughts?
Yeah, I do. Thank you for that presentation. It was very interesting. I'd like a little more background about how HPHP is operating right now. It sounds like the hybrid model, we're really going to be taking advantage of HPHP's resources and add on the syringe service opportunities for the participants while not making the visit to their mobile van clearly focused on individuals who use drugs because they provide other healthcare services. Does that sound right to you?
So as far as the rapport that we've established with many of their participants or their patients, when we are performing outreach in encampments or to the homeless community, access to syringe exchange is actually something that's been asked for. You know, persons will periodically ask for syringes, or if we are distributing syringes, and you know, of course, we're not in those circumstances. But the pairing of the services at outreach, I really don't think that would be creating an issue where our potential participants felt like they were secondary recipients of service. It's really, I think, adding on to the services that both our program and HPHP are able to provide by, in essence, expanding syringe access to persons at street medicine and facilitating referrals to wound care, for instance, and also very importantly, MAC treatment through providers who are present.
Yeah, I wasn't suggesting that the Syringe Exchange would be a secondary service, it would just be an additional service, and actually seems to meld pretty well with, the program that they have. And I guess partly I need to have a better idea of what HP is and how often they're out doing outreach. And it sounds like they have a little of what we were talking about getting was a mobile program. If they can include other non-drug use care, all the better. How often are they going out and are they able to get close to the participants, and are they in good part taking care of the same clients that we are?
Yes, we do have a lot of shared clients. Right now, we are partnering with them 2 days a week, and they are looking to, last conversation I had with them, expand that street medicine to 3 days a week, including Wednesdays. Right now, we collaborate with them on Mondays and Thursdays, both in Watsonville and here in Santa Cruz. They have an alternate service on Thursdays, a couple times a week at the Overlook site and here in Santa Cruz, and then at the Watsonville levee on Thursdays, that is. And as far as where their program is going, we've met with them, and they are very enthusiastic about increasing our partnership and collaboration in delivering services at outreach.
Well, that sounds great.
Mr. Stern?
Yes, thank you, Chair Bruder. I just put a new term into the chat. It's the tribrid model. We try three things at once. The first thing is we've been asked to move our Emeline campus out and do something else. What if we made significant progress? I'm a big proponent of progress, not perfection. What if we drove half of our business, or the Emeline campus was only open 6 hours a week instead of 12? That's progress. And at the same time, I don't want to just flat out close the doors on the Emeline campus, because it's going to take a while to transition and get our customers, our clients aware that we may possibly close the Emeline campus to give service in other ways. So I think it's important we keep it there, at least some of it, and not just shut the door on all of it. So that's one stake in the ground, is keep some of the Emeline campus, but in fairness to the board and in spirit of what they've asked us to do, we close down a lot of it. The other thing is we partner with a clinic like Coral Street, HPHP, and see how that works, because a lot of our population is over there, at least in North County. As I don't know, is Santa Cruz Mid County? I'm not sure anymore. But a lot of clients are over there. And then our third part of this tribrid model is the mobile part. And I would not recommend jumping in head over heels, spending $100,000 of taxpayer money to buy a vehicle and outfit it and do all this stuff. And then we find out it wasn't that successful. Fleet Services usually has a few vehicles on hand that they're going to send out to auction. They're done with them. They've had a service life. Maybe we could grab one of those at no cost or low cost. It won't be pretty and it won't be shiny, but it's a vehicle and it would work and it would be cheap. And then with this tribrid model, we get 6 months of data. We have the Emeline campus reduced, but in service. We have the clinics going over at Coral Street helping us. And then we grab that vehicle and send it out wherever we want to send it out. Wherever staff thinks it needs to go, we send it out at a low cost before we start spending a lot of money. And we get data on all three sites, and everyone who comes in for an exchange, of course, they're going to be asked, how did you like coming here today? How did you like our service today? and we start getting information about our systems. Then we reconvene in 6 months and decide what has been the good approach. Let's look at the data. Let's analyze the data and see which approach worked well, which didn't work well, or if one of the approaches was just supported a little more, it would do really well. That would give us information to really hone our programs and hone our delivery models. I have a big fear of just shutting the doors on Emeline and going to an all mobile service. That kind of scares me a little. But having a tribrid model, I got to have a different term. It's kind of getting old already, but it's kind of fun. But having and then we pilot this program. The best way to ever get a program approved is to start it on a pilot project, because then executives can shut it down if they don't like it, or board of supervisors can shut it down if they don't like it. It was only a pilot program. But if it works, then it tends to get integrated and implemented, and we keep it. That's the value of having a pilot program. And I think we ought to give ourselves the benefit of a pilot program, and there's strength in diversity. Just having one type of program or service delivery is not as strong as having a couple of types of service delivery, because people are not the same. People are different. Our clients are different. They have different needs. So offering them a diverse set of opportunities, I think, is smart by our part. And that's all I have. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Commissioner. A couple of things jumped out at me. One of them was during the alternate fixed site thoughts and presentation. It seemed like the negative, the weaknesses were all centered around a thought being that it would be at HPHP. It didn't seem to take into consideration that, heck, it could be at a building in the flats. I'm referring specifically to the thought of a no-use shelter giving out needles. Well, it doesn't necessarily have, our next alternate site doesn't necessarily have to be near a shelter. It doesn't have to, it doesn't have to be that. So it just seemed like there was a bit of a focus on HPHP without keeping an open mind to the rest of the community possibly being a place. That was just an observation. The other thing that jumped out, this last page here, this last sentence. Reducing, I'm going to paraphrase it, cutting down the foot traffic here at Emeline. Like Mr. Sturm said, dialing back the hours because we have other options, other modes of supplying. Maybe if we were to dial back the amount of foot traffic here to 2 hours twice a week, that might satisfy the neighborhood and take the pressure off the soups, allowing us to keep our fixed location here, our storage location here, our parking area for our vehicle here, and we piggyback with HPHP, who you seem very open to having us come on board and partner with them and go out with them. So yeah, that seems like a really big win, because we get to quell the problems in the neighborhood here, which is what has ultimately driven this request and the subject. And it allows us the opportunity, using that logic, that should be able to help the supervisors approve the distribution of syringes from a mobile site, change their mandate from fixed location only, allowing us the opportunity to do the pilot program. That's the first thing we need. The first thing we need is approval from the SUPs to be able to do a mobile exchange in any form. And if we can get that approval from them, get them to change that one mandate, well, then we can figure out how to dial in exactly how we're going to go about it for 6 months or so on this pilot tri-grid situation. I don't feel that we should have distribution at HPHP. I think that goes totally against, just like having distribution up at the outreach or overlook. It goes against. But being partnered with them in their mobile outreach, when they go off campus to the different places, I think that is just amazing. And I don't think that we have to worry about a duplicate situation. I don't think we have to worry about not stepping on toes, but overlapping with the Harm Reduction Coalition. They have their own policies, their own rules, their own routes and everything, and their own clients. And I'm sure that if we have the ability to go and meet people where they are, a lot of those clients will also come to us, which makes our program sustainable, because historically our numbers just keep dropping because people don't want to come to us. If we can go to them, then it makes our program sustainable, viable, and makes sense for the community. I really like the idea of the pilot program. I really like the idea of figuring out how to keep our room here for all of our storage and have, a limited on-site here. That gives the people that aren't homeless or disadvantaged, that gives people that are just your average everyday citizen that has jobs and homes and whatnot that might need access to syringes. They can drive up and they can get their stuff without the stigma of having to go down to Coral Street or hang out in an encampment to get their stuff. I think it's the best of all worlds. So that's my thoughts. But the first step to any of it is getting the Board of Supervisors to change the mandate that will allow us to pursue a mobile exchange. Any other thoughts?
I have a couple of questions. Does the Harm Reduction Coalition do any public reporting of their statistics so we can, or can we interface with them because they've been doing this mobile distribution for some time and they have a sense for how well that's working before we do a pilot?
They do report to the state. They're authorized to the Office of Aid, so they do have to report on their services and some statistics. So those will be available. I believe their initial report is already available publicly, and I'm not sure when their next report is due. I actually believe it may have come in already, but I'm not positive on that. But yes, they do have to report to the state, and those reports are available. It's just not a monthly thing.
Have you found those reports to be helpful at all?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that they're helpful just to know overall syringe delivery and participants served in the county, at least by Syringe Services program. It does not account for syringes sold at pharmacies, prescribed. But it does give a good overall look as far as syringe service programs jointly, serving our county citizens.
Okay, thank you. And I have my other question, Chair Bruder. Can you tell me again why you think it's a bad idea to have syringe exchange at the HPHP at Coral Street?
Well, the same reason it's a bad idea for an alcoholic to walk into a bar. It's not a good idea, in my opinion, to be providing drug injection devices at a place where drug injection is not allowed, where it's a no-use shelter.
Thank
You're
you.
not,
Got it.
you know, yeah.
I understand. Thank you very much.
Can I clarify something?
Yeah.
So the example that Rashawn made about HPHP, that's only one location, but the Homeless Persons Health Project goes to other locations, like to the river levee, for example, in Watsonville, in which they do provide a plethora of services in which it would behoove us to, to be able to provide that service. That's a location where it also attracts similar populations, and it's an open setting, right? The street medicine van goes there with the MAT team and nurses to help, support citizens. And if we did pair up to do our mobile exchange where people are already accessing services and that's already at where they're living, I think it's a win-win situation. So I just don't want to, even though Rashawn did talk about that site specifically about Salvation, the Overlook, that isn't the occasion with the circumstances with all the other sites.
But to clarify my comment, I was, when I mentioned HPHP and not doing it there, I was specifically thinking of their brick and mortar location on Coral Street, not all the other outreach that they do.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, just to clarify, because you're correct. They go a lot of places, and that's why it would be great to partner with them.
Yeah.
Just not specifically at their front door on Coral Street.
Correct. And, piggybacking on that comment that you just made, Commissioner Bruder, about they go all over the places. One of the things that, HPP currently goes to 3 to 4 locations, but that could potentially expand, right? And so one of the things that we have heard throughout these commission meetings is bringing the services to where the participants are at, right? So, if we do continue to partner more with HPHP, and that's where we're going, if HPHP happens to identify other locations for street medicine, we may not be able to participate because of the fixed hours that we have as well. Mm-hmm. So I do think that it limits the fluidity of us being able to potentially partner with HPHP in other sites, and also maybe with other partners that might be interested in partnering with us who also serve a similar population, where we can leverage resources, right? If they're providing a service that's attracting the same participants, and we do too, and it's basically, we're broadening the services to the community in one location. So just going back to your comment about focuses on HPHP, I think that's our immediate thought about HPHP, but we can, definitely we have partners that we could potentially.
There could be a fluidity. If we do this, a pilot program, as Mr. Stern suggested, that doesn't lock us in. That's a trial run, and that we can fine tune and figure out how to be fluid. And if things are working right, we can expand potentially to be able to get more hours approved by the board, and more partnerships to be able to build. By no means do we want to lock into one thing only, for sure. I wouldn't want to do that. But the pilot program would allow us to find out, how it's working, what can we do better? And then we could take that data back to the board and try and get more.
If I could, I'm not sure if other commissioners have comment.
Mr. Stern?
I just want to make a comment, and I hope other commissioners will join me. If we get this mobile model on a trial project, and harm reduction has a mobile model already, I don't in any way want to be in competition with HRC or harm reduction. I want to be in collaboration with them. So if they have their route set up, or the areas that they go to, or their favorite parking place when their mobile vehicle goes out, maybe they could make recommendations to us of the areas that are not getting hit, and we could take that under advisement when we make our decisions to go out. I think there's a real opportunity for us, harm reduction, who's already out there in a vehicle, and us coming out in one, to really make some gains in service to our community and fill gaps That's one comment. And then, yes, Chair Bruder, I also agree with your observation that a trial project in these three areas would give us an idea of where we need to proceed forward later on or to back off, and what kind of resources we would need, all the while fulfilling the board's request to reduce services out of Emeline. Okay, move it out of Emeline, but I'll take what I can get. So if we reduced it, say 70%, that's a good push to what they asked us to do. So I see that we're running late on time. I'll stop my comments, but I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything from you, Mr. Plum?
I'm good, thanks.
Any last comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that HPHP is actually their primary care service. So they are a clinic, a safety net clinic, and their street medicine is maybe an example of a hybrid model. They have their clinic site, and even though their focus population are persons who are unhoused, not everyone is able to reach that clinic. And so then going out, looking for opportunities to reach people who have difficulty, whether it be transportation, whatever the issue might be, they are reaching out in a hybrid model of sorts. And so it really is just a great collaboration to be working with them. And well, we're looking to do that, and we have been doing that, supporting HIV and hepatitis C testing. You know, whether an opportunity arises there's a recommendation to try to move into their space or other sites, we are still collaborating and working with other potential partners to explore their willingness to actually host exchange. But as the document I sent out earlier points out, there are issues that are going to come up whenever we have work with another organization. Their policies may differ, their staff might be resistant, etc. So just something to explore. We have a lot of flexibility when we get this information. But firstly, we are mandated to operate at Emeline and at Watsonville. Those fixed site locations, the board would need to remove that in order to allow us to move to any other location, let alone do mobile delivery or mobile services.
Agreed. Yeah, the first step is getting them to change that mandate. Okay, so that concludes 8.2, and our meeting is a minute late already. I'm going to jump ahead real quick to 8.4, which would have been Commissioner King's discussion on her visit to the Monterey County Mobile Unit. I think that we should just table that since she's not here. Anybody have a problem with that?
That's fine.
Okay. I think we need to vote on it though, real quick. So I would entertain a motion.
Table that. I make a motion to table 8.4.
I second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to table number 8.4 until the next meeting, and it is seconded. All those in favor of tabling it, please say aye.
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 That passes unanimously. Thank you. And back to 8.3 real quick. The resource planner for invited to March SSP meeting. Ms. Lucero.
Yes, she will be present at next month's meeting in person.
Oh, yay, in person even.
Yes.
Neato. Awesome.
Yep, we all will.
Okay. All right. Well, that's awesome. That was a quick little item. Topics for future meetings. Well, you know, we're going to have the resource planner here. We're going to hopefully hear from Commissioner King on her visit to the Monterey Mobile Unit. And a quick discussion of whether or not we should disband the ad hoc committee for community engagement. Are there any other things that we might want to put on the agenda?
Yes, I want to start looking for our next alternate site. We'd like to have 2 alternate meetings a year. And the last time we went down to the bench lands behind our 701 building, I'd like to look at a different site. I'm not saying we have to do it by next month, but look at some suggestions and look at some areas that we might move the meeting for one meeting.
Okay. Also, we need to, at the next meeting, we need to solidify what we want said to the Board of Supervisors.
Correct.
So we've sort of got a full meeting then all of a sudden with all of that, with the Resource Planner 4 being here and dealing with solidifying what we want said to the Board of Supervisors.
Yes, and also, thank you, Chair Buder. We should have also a solid draft of the biannual report that will be presenting in April. So, providing a solid draft of the biannual report along with kind of solidifying the response or recommendation to the board around the service delivery model.
Okay, so we need to have our stuff together by the end of the next meeting and in your hand, or?
No, I mean, we could just, at the next meeting, it would have to be something very firm and,
yes.
Yeah. And so, because our meeting is April 25th, but we have internal deadlines by when information needs to be provided to, our leadership and to the Board of Supervisors. So that's why we work sooner than the April 25th date to ensure that we meet those deadlines.
Okay, so we definitely have to have what we want said at the next meeting, by the next meeting. We need to have it dialed in. Okay, awesome. Anybody else? Anything? Nothing? Nobody? Anybody?
Actually, I'd like to second Commissioner Sturm's comment about working collaboratively with HRC. I've got your back on that.
I can jump right on that also.
Great.
It is not a competition. We're here to help people. Okay, well, with all that being said, I can make...
Not to interrupt.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion to adjourn the meeting, yes.
I open the floor for discussion and approve. Or second the motion.
Discussion is now closed. Okay, we have a motion on the floor, seconded to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that passes. Thank you very much, folks. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate all of you taking your time out of your holiday to come and serve the community.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks. Bye.
See you next month.
Right.
All right, keep up the good work. Make us proud.